Okay, here's Sister Norma right here. I'm going to chat with her a little bit here this morning. Oh, okay, well, we'll see. Maybe she's... Okay, well, maybe she's going over there to talk on the phone, but if she keeps walking, I'm going to follow her because that's Sister Norma. I've seen her picture and I know who she is. And so if she keeps going, I'm going to follow her because I know that's her. And she said she'd meet with me. Maybe she doesn't know who I am, but I'm sure she's seen she's getting in the car. No, you're not, Sister Norma. No, ma'am. You're supposed to meet with us. Sister Norma? Norma? Hi, we're meeting? Okay, she's saying give her a minute, but that's not gonna happen. I have a meeting set up with her and I've been talking with her for days, so if she doesn't want to speak because I've got a camera or something, I don't know, but I know she knows it's me, Mom. She just said a second. So yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but we're gonna stay out here and wait. So I would say that's a big shock to me. The other thing that's that's been mind-blowing that I haven't been able to wrap my head around is whenever the migrants come in, if something happens to them, if they're sick, if God forbid they die, that gets absorbed by the county. That becomes a cost on the county. It becomes a hit on the county. And like, you know, we were talking with other officials that were saying like those things are so, they can be really long lasting impacts on their counties because that can affect their allocations for money down the road. And so that is really hard for me to understand that sheriffs are telling me the border is open, the border is porous. And so people are coming in, no one's stopping them, but then they end up in these counties. And if something goes wrong, the counties have to pay for that. And that's really interesting to me. And these are small towns and small counties and small departments. And so that's really shocking to me. I had no idea that becomes an expense on them. And that if, like up in Brooks County, up in Sheriff Benny Martinez's area, they have had 74 bodies that they have found out in rural areas. And so what's interesting is he was telling us it's $2,200 per autopsy. That's what Sheriff Joe Frank said up in Valverde County is $2,200 per autopsy. So if Sheriff Benny Martinez was dealing with that for 74 bodies, that's a hit on their county. So that was interesting to me. I had no idea. So again, we are waiting here. She just got off the phone. So let's see if she is going to come talk to me or not. It's very interesting that we'll see. We'll see. So when I was talking with La Jolla Police yesterday, you know, they were just saying they really want better communication with the respites. They really want to know who's coming out into the communities because apparently it's not being released. That information isn't really being put out there. And so the officials that I talked to, they would like to see more communication, you know. And so I was talking yesterday, the La Jolla Police Department was telling me that Catholic Charities gets their funding from the government, but they're a non-government organization, but they also aren't, I don't know what their requirements are for reporting positive COVID cases and things like that. So hopefully we can find out some of that information. Here comes Sister Norma. We'll see if we can speak with her again. Hi there, good morning. How are you? I'm Allie Bradley. We have a meeting this morning.
That's right.
Yes. So I am recording because we are doing full transparency here for my independent journalism. So I have several questions for you. Obviously, we have a little bit of your time here. So with Catholic Charities, obviously you guys have been assisting migrants for quite a while. Do you feel like you have the resources right now to do what you're doing and to continue to do what you're doing with helping all these folks?
I think so, yes.
You think so, yes? I know that you guys, from the sheriff's departments, they were telling me that you guys can typically care for about 2,000 migrants. And what are you guys seeing right now?
As far as numbers?
Yes.
Oh, the numbers have dropped significantly to a way what, 500, 600 maybe at the most.
Okay, so they've dropped by 500 or 600 at the most here, but does that mean they're placed in the other areas like the Texas Inn and the areas that you guys have used as overflows?
No, what we're doing right now is just mostly putting them in Ansel Duas Park and here.
Okay. Okay, so they're at Ansel Duas Park in here. Are there still people over at the Texas Inn near La Jolla?
Only those that were initially placed, and they're just we're just waiting for them. I don't know exactly where we don't have them in all the hotels anymore.
Okay.
So we're reducing the numbers as they are coming out of isolation.
Okay.
And once they do, we're not placing anymore. So
okay.
I don't know exactly which ones we have still, but they're there.
And so are those the COVID positive cases that were at the hotel then?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Do you have any COVID positive cases in the respite center?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So do you guys do the testing here?
We do not.
Who does the testing?
There is a group that is contracted to do that.
A group is contracted to do that. So they go from Border Patrol processing, the group will then test them, and then they come to you and you guys know if they're positive or not, and then you put them in the facilities that they need to go to. Is that what happens?
That's correct.
Okay.
Something like that, if I follow you correctly, yeah.
Okay. So another contracted company will do the COVID testing, and then you guys, so what do you do when someone comes up and says these people are COVID positive? Isn't that put your other people at risk and things like that?
No, ma'am, because they don't go inside if they're COVID positive.
They don't go inside if they're COVID positive. Okay. And so if they're doing that part of the testing, you said you feel supported, like you have the resources. I know a lot of other areas and police departments don't feel that way. So are you guys monetarily, are you fundraising? Where do you get your funding? I know you're an NGO.
Yeah, well, we get donations from everybody that supports the efforts that we're doing.
Do you get support from the government, from the Biden administration?
At this point, no. But I'm sure there's funding available that we were made aware. And maybe at some point we would be getting some funding, but not yet.
So you haven't gotten any funding from the Biden administration, but there might be funding available down the road, and you don't know what that funding would look like or how much that would look like?
At this point, we don't.
Okay. So if the government is going to step in and assist, but you're a non-government organization, how would that work?
I'm not sure your question.
Well, when you're a government entity being supported by the government, you're a government entity, but you're not a government organization. So if that's money is coming from the government, how can you be classified as a non-government organization?
Okay, so I think that if this happens, it's funding that is made available to anybody in the United States that is providing any humanitarian assistance. And it's not just us, it's there's some funds designated for that purpose. Okay. So I think that question you would need to ask to the people who are making these funds available. Okay. I would just refer to Congressman Cuellar maybe, or anybody that has reasons to have allotted these funds for this purpose. Okay. Okay. So if when you guys have funding, what is that going to? Is it going to food? Is it going to care? What is that funding? How is that being spent? That will go for whatever the needs are. Okay. And what are you seeing as the need right now? Is it mostly food and water, or is it housing, or what is it? Whatever it is, whether it's food, water, assistance for the family, whatever it is. Okay. Now I know I've seen a lot of people coming across after Border Patrol processes them, and I don't know if it's ICE or what, but some of them have these ankle monitors on, which is kind of a newer thing. Do you know anything about that? That's those tracking devices? Well, it's not new. I think if you are aware of what has happened previously in the previous administration, ankle monitors were placed in every adult. Okay, so that was back in the previous administration. They're bringing it back. This one has also maintained that practice if necessary. Okay. So and not everybody that is released has the ankle bracelet, but some may have it. Do you know who would qualify or who would need one? You need to ask the whoever puts it on. Okay, I will do that. I will do that. Now we see them with those envelopes. Are those coming from Border Patrol? Are those coming from respite centers? I know that their documentation's in there with where they're going and things like that.
So are you guys assisting them with that so that they can make sure they get to where they need to go safely, or what does that look like?
Yes. So what happens is that when Border Patrol releases them, they are released with a document that states that they have permission to be in the United States to travel to their point of destination to continue their immigration proceedings, and they need to report to immigration at that point. And so what we do is we give them a yellow envelope to put them inside. And in that, when their family buys them their bus ticket or whatever however they're going to travel, we put that information on outside of the yellow envelope, so they know the number of their bus and the transfers they're going to be making. It's kind of explain to them so that they know how to make those connections.
Okay, and then I mean, some of them also say I don't speak English, and it's so that they can safely get to where they need to go to. Like your guys' sign says, it's restoring human dignity. You want these people to safely get to their families. You're trying to assist and help.
That's totally correct.
Yes, absolutely. So as far as I know, a couple of weeks back we had the situation where there were some migrants that were out that were COVID positive in McAllen. What is the responsibility of Catholic Charities to tell the community or to tell local officials or anything that you guys have seen COVID positive cases, or what's that responsibility?
Well, actually nobody was in McAllen, Texas with COVID positives, because what we do is precisely try to contain and confirm and assure that the community is not exposed to COVID positive.
So where were they?
When we receive them, we make sure that they get tested so that we can then put the ones that are negative, help them so they can continue their journey. Those that are positive, we put them in isolation. So those are some of the hotels that we identify where hotel owners asked us that they can set aside some rooms, because not every hotel would want any. So we asked, we have some families that are COVID positive, would you offer some rooms for them? And then if they say yes, then that's where we put the family so they can be in quarantine until they test negative. So the idea is to keep them from being outside in the community. What we do is we have our staff making sure that we provide all the assistance that they need so they don't need to leave the room. Whether it's food, water, anything the baby needs. And that has always happened. Okay. The incident that you're referring to is in La Jolla, which was a new hotel that we had initially just on that same day that happened. The family stepped out. One of the families that we put in that hotel didn't realize, I guess, that we were going to be taking them food, and so he stepped out, saw the Whataburger, and he went and took his family to buy a hamburger. So what I understand from a local resident that was in Whataburger actually in line to buy, she said, "Sister, I saw the family. It was just two of them and the child and the father. I saw them. They had masks on, and they went into the Whataburger. They bought the Whataburgers, the hamburgers. They came out and they ate them in the sidewalk. And then I saw them go straight into their room in the hotel. So it was not like people all over walking around with COVID exposing anyone else. And so." It was misinformation as to what actually happened. I think the city officials alerted the community about the fact that all these people were going around with COVID, which was not a fact, you know.
But is this true though? At that hotel, there wasn't security at a certain point, so it was kind of on an honor system for these folks to just stay in their room, right? I mean, no. There was not really anything to keep them in their rooms outside of the paperwork saying if you don't stay, you could impact your asylum and your proceedings, right?
No, that's incorrect.
Okay, can you clarify for me?
What the families are asked to remain there. They have every right to go anywhere they want because they're legally allowed.
Even if they're COVID positive?
Well, if you were COVID positive, how would I know that you're COVID positive?
But you're saying some of these people you guys knew were COVID positive.
So when we asked them to remain in isolation was precisely because they understood that it was safer for them and for the community to be in isolation.
Right. But I guess my question is, how can anyone force them to do that? There's no security and there's no police, you know, no one can make them stay. So it's kind of an honor system. It's their word that they're going to stay in that room if there's no security and no police, right?
Definitely. But we do have staff. We may not have a security guard, but we do have staff that are there attending and helping the families with anything they need, so that they would not feel themselves safe and with no need to go out. Okay.
But you guys don't have a right to keep them. Like, you can't say no, you can't leave.
That's correct.
Other than you advising, if you do leave, you could impact your proceedings moving forward.
No, they could not impact their proceedings.
It won't.
Because
Okay.
Border Patrol actually released them and they could travel as they are. We are asking them, please, it would be safer for you and for everybody if you stay in quarantine until you are tested negative. And we will continue to follow up and provide you with anything you need so that you can remain there until you test negative.
Right, and I know that family that went to Whataburger, the officials went in there and they said they had everything they needed, but the kid just wanted a hamburger and the mom and dad wanted to give the kid a hamburger, right? Wasn't that kind of the situation, that the family was not necessarily didn't understand, but they were, that's my mother, not that they didn't understand, but that they were like, didn't know the magnitude or that it was actually a problem.
Yeah, I know.
Is that kind of? So you guys have your hands full. You're obviously dealing with a lot. You feel like you are supported, Sister Norma. What do you need? Do you need anything? Do you need help? What do you need right now?
I need people to understand that these are people that are not exposing anyone to any virus, because we're making sure that we are helping the community to be safe.
But how can you do that if you can't make them stay?
But I am helping them remain inside.
Okay.
That's my efforts.
Okay.
Doing instead, I need to answer to this.
Okay, I understand.
The person that just passed by there needs some help.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, Sister Norma, we really appreciate your time and appreciate you being open and honest with us today. And hopefully, you guys can continue your mission safely, and you guys are safe and healthy as well.
Thank you.
Take care, ma'am. Take care. Okay, so we just finished up chatting with Sister Norma from Catholic Charities. Learned a lot. Let's walk this way a little bit so I can talk a little bit. Okay, so if you guys were listening, she was a little bit hard to hear, but I think you could hear it okay. So what I just learned is they do have COVID positive cases. These people, they can't make them stay in the facilities or in the hotels. But then she's also saying these people aren't going out in the communities. But then I asked, how can you make sure that's not happening? And she confirmed it's kind of on an honor system for these people. And, you know, the family that went to Whataburger didn't understand, right? They aren't necessarily English speaking. So it's really interesting here. A lot to unpack with that one. Do you have any comments on that? She said that they feel supported. They have the resources. She claims they aren't getting any government funding right now, but they understand there is government funding that's potentially available. I asked her how they can be considered an NGO if they're getting government assistance. That's something I think I have to ask the congressman about that. So that's interesting as well. But she said they're good.
I think you can get a certain amount of government. You're not
right,
a
like
entity, but you can get funding from the government.
Right.
And still maintain an NGO status.
Right. So they can get like grants and help like that. Absolutely. But I still want to clarify. I still want to know what that funding looks like. But they've been helping migrants out for quite a while. Catholic Charities has. But she said they feel supported, and they said that the numbers are actually down at the respite. So I have to figure that one out too, because if the numbers are up across the border, where are they going? So I'm not sure, but she said they go over to Ansel Duas Park, which is that international bridge park that we were at yesterday. They go out there to be processed.
And from all accounts, from several different sources, that park is wonderful for children. And they've got a park where the kids go out and swing.
Yeah, apparently it's a very family, you know, they've set it up in a way for families, for sure. That's from officials, like sheriffs, border patrol, things like that. So, but yeah, so she was talking about that. She said she just wants people to understand that COVID cases, people aren't walking around spreading COVID. But then I asked her, you can't make people stay though. And she said, well, we can, you know, help them. I mean, they can't strong arm a human being and say, you can't go. You can't, unless you can't force them in isolation into quarantine. They can walk on their own volition at any given time that they want. It's on a Scout's honor kind of thing. So, Yeah, we just got that information confirmed. Very interesting. And that was a very interesting conversation because I'm going to be very, very open about this. I had messaged her earlier this morning, about an hour ago, confirming our conversation, confirming we would meet outside. And then she walked by me like she didn't even know who I was. And then I said, we have a meeting. And she goes, oh, yeah, 15 minutes after our meeting was set. So that was a little interesting to me as well, because, again, I had just spoken to her. It wasn't like I talked to her 2 weeks ago and then showed up. And she is busy. She is very busy. The president of the NGO just drove by, said he needed help. I know she is busy, but I do want to be honest about everything that's happening. I did reach out to her earlier this morning. It wasn't...
And you've been in contact with her over the course of several days.
Yes,
actually.
I have actually been speaking with her for days. So that was an interesting one where she kind of was very, like, taken aback that I was here.